Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm KT and this is Simple Living with KT, the place where we talk about the issues facing our lives in a simple and mindful way. I believe there's one question that everyone needs to ask themselves when they're starting out on their personal finance journey, especially if you're looking to pay off some debt. And that question is, do you have an income issue or do you have a spending or behavior issue? This one question will help you identify where you need to focus. I know many people like to start with your why and the reason behind why you want to get on top of your own personal finance journey. This question is not to replace that question. However, it's to help you dig deeper and make sure that you are not ignoring issues when it comes to your finances. So let's take a look at the first challenge, that being the income. I think there's a lot of focus when we generally talk about personal finance journeys or getting out of debt that always automatically there's some type of income issue, that you need to be working 80 hours a week, that you need to be rising and grinding and hustling. However, that's not necessarily always the issue. However, let's talk about the instances where that is the issue. I'm not going to go into exactly what you need to do to overcome an income issue. However, I do think it's important that you know whether or not you truly have an issue with income or if there's an issue with spending. And we're going to talk about some of the misconceptions that come across when we talk about these things. So when we talk about income and whether or not that's your challenge that you're facing, let's take a look at a scenario. Let's say if you were to cut back on your spending and you were working the same amount of hours, you were cooking at home, you were eating some beans and rice and ramen every day, and you were making payments towards any outstanding debt, and you were getting ready to set up, savings goals and planning for the long term. Would you be able to get out of debt in about 2 years? And I'm going to also just say perhaps you were putting more money towards paying off the debt than towards saving for short-term things. So the goal is debt. Would you be able to do that within 2 years and kind of be able to free yourself from a very tight, restrictive paycheck to paycheck cycle? If the answer is no, and you'd still be spinning your wheels, being in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and not really making any progress on those debt payments, in those type of instances, I'd say that there is more an income issue and not a spending issue. It's important to make that distinction because you'll hear people talk about, oh, your coffee a day and you'll be a millionaire. That's not what I'm talking about here, and we know that that's not your issue. If you go out to Burger King once a week, that's not going to be the thing that helps you create long-term wealth, because you need more money coming in order to start breaking free from that cycle. And I'm not talking about becoming a workaholic for the rest of your life, working 80 hours a week and working yourself to the bone. However, something needs to be worked out, whether it is looking at your state or your county and seeing if they have some work programs that will give you the training so that you can go into an in-demand field and start making more money. Perhaps doing the uncomfortable, and maybe childcare is an issue that you have when it comes to working extra hours. Maybe reaching out to a family member that's close by, if there is someone, and seeing if there's something you can work out while you're at this stage in your life. These are just a few examples, and truly I believe the list of things that could be done are endless, but it partially depends on what is available for you, where you are, and how uncomfortable you're willing to get. And this is all for a short-term, hopefully maximum a couple of years type of situation, so that in the long term 3+ years, you'll be able to break that paycheck to paycheck cycle, be on a path to generating real long-term wealth, and being able to enjoy your money however you want. And now let's look at the spending issues. This is something I go more into depth with in my course, Abundance and a Budget. You can check that out by starting the free 5-day Mind and Money series in the link in the description. But for now, let's take a look at the spending issue. Let's consider the similar scenario. Let's consider you're just doing everything normally as far as not working any extra hours or picking up another job, but just with the income you have right now, would you be able to say that, let's say if you cut back on eating out, or perhaps you have a car lease, if you traded that in for a car that you own outright and did not have monthly payments, items like that that can be traded out, would you be able to reasonably in a couple of years pay off your debt so that you can break yourself free from the paycheck to paycheck cycle, but also start working on those long-term financial goals like investing and buying a house? When I was starting out in my own financial independence journey, if you told me that scenario, I would say there's no way that person is living paycheck to paycheck or has any issues financially, because if I could just cut back a little bit and be able to pay off my debt, I would do that. However, not everyone, one, thinks the same, but two, not everyone, unfortunately, learns there are other ways to go about their finances. Now that we have some context here, let's continue with a little bit more context. People who have the challenge of spending when they are trying to reach their financial goals, it's not all to do about cutting back as much as possible. It could be medical bills and student loans that are also really putting a weight on their budget. There's also something else that I want to consider with many times when people have a spending issue, and it is either just not having a budget, so not really seeing how much money is going out, but also the idea of keeping up with the Joneses. There have been studies of the data from higher end suburb divisions of the household debt, and generally in nicer suburb areas, there is more debt. And that debt is linked to things like home renovations and hobbies and wanting to make sure that their home has curb appeal, especially in relation to their neighbors. So maybe you're not particularly trying to keep up with having the best lawn on the block, but I do strongly believe that that is a factor, at least happening somewhere in the back of our minds, when there is a spending issue and when you haven't been exposed to other ways of handling your finances. Many people think the debt is normal. Many people think the payments forever are normal. However, there's just another way. There's another way, and that is getting in touch with your finances. You might still find that you want to make more money. However, if you are having a spending issue and your solution to that is just making more money, in reality, you're just going to end up spending more money. So I hope this walkthrough helped to illustrate why identifying which challenge that you're particularly dealing with is important. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're on your own journey, certainly leave me a comment if you would like to share when you started. Did you have a income or spending issue, and how you found out which challenge you were actually dealing with? Also, certainly subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to make the decisions that support the life you want. Bye for now.